Okay. All right. We are coming back from closed session. The meeting was reconvened to open session at 7:01 p.m. There was no action to report taken in closed session this evening. Next item, flag salute, and I'd love to have Member Jackson lead us in the salute.
We have some
We have some students here tonight.
Oh, we do. Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Haley Taylor will be leading the pledge.
Awesome.
Not that I don't love to hear Mr. Jackson, but then let me get the flag up 1 second.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, everybody please stand and put your right hand over your heart and place the flag on the screen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Haley. Happy to have you here to do that. What year are you?
Thank you for having me. What was that?
What year are you at SOC?
I'm in 8th grader, so I've been here for 9 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I love us in school.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Moving on to the next agenda item. It is community input for agendized items. The public is, oh, just changed it back. Sorry, having technical difficulties. The public may comment on items listed on agenda items, including the consent calendar, presentations, discussion, committee, and action items. Do we have any community input for agendized items?
Check one more time. We do not.
Okay, thank you. So items for consent. Item A, minutes from the regular meeting of the Oxford Preparatory Academy Board of Directors regular meeting on January 20th, 2022, and the OPA board study session on February 3rd, 2022. A donation of an 85-inch Samsung TV to OPA SOC by the Frearley family. Master agreement from here now for special education services. Master agreement from the KYO for special education services. Master agreement for Lauren McGill for special education services, and personnel report. Which have the items listed below. It is recommended that the board of directors approve consent items A through F. May I please get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
A second.
I'm sorry, I have a laughing baby in the background.
I'll second. Jackson seconds.
All right, thank you. Member Agarwal.
Aye.
Member Jackson.
Aye.
Member Kagoo.
Aye.
Member Smith.
Aye.
Member Travis is aye as well. Sorry, I've got a very laughing baby. With that, can we go ahead and get the executive director's report?
All right. Thank you guys all for being here. And thanks to our amazing students from SOC who are going to do their report tonight. I also wanted to take just a few minutes to kind of talk to everyone about some comments that have come to my attention from social media sites, and to apologize for some things that may have been taken a little bit out of context regarding our expansion. I just want everyone to know that everyone here is working very hard to make sure that all of our students are getting everything that they need. In regards to space at SOC, I know some people are saying that we have added extra classes to SOC, or that we don't have the same programs that we've had in the past. We do. We have the same number of actual classes as we did before COVID. We were able to actually bring back STEAM, which was housing an 8th grade class before COVID. So we've actually added some programs that we didn't have before. It's always our goal to make sure that we're providing the best opportunities for our OPA students and making sure that they are getting as much as they possibly can. And so in regards to expansion, it's always better to have more space on either one of our campuses, because then we can provide even more opportunities for our students. But like I said, there is no difference in the number of classes now than there were before COVID 3 years ago. We have the same exact number of classes on the campus at SOC. The only difference is we're retaining students because our programs are so amazing, our staff is so amazing, and what we do for students is so amazing. And so now instead of having 8th grade classes of 12, we have 8th grade classes of 30. And that's really a testament to everybody that's here, our administrators, our teachers, our families, and our staff. And so I just want everyone to know that everyone is working very, very hard. Some doing this as volunteers who are here tonight, volunteering their time to make sure that OPA is as amazing of a place as it possibly could be. So I just implore everyone, I think most people know that you can always reach out to me if you have questions or concerns, or you want to know a little bit more information about something. I am always more than happy to answer your questions. But please do that before posting things that may cause harm to others. Things like we're not going to have STEAM when we have 2 STEAM teachers who are amazing, and we aren't planning on getting rid of them ever, hopefully. And I don't want them to feel after reading posts that their jobs are in jeopardy, because they're not. And I also want to really thank all of our administrators and board members and parents and everyone. I know we're, big decisions take tough conversations. It's not because anyone isn't passionate and wanting to do the best for our students. So I just please implore that everybody come to me and ask if you have a question. I've gotten really good at answering questions over the last couple of years through COVID. So just come, we're all open to feedback. We love having board meetings where we have, 50 people instead of our normal, 10. And we love getting feedback. So thank you all for all of your input. And I hope everybody is going to have a great 4-day weekend. And we have a lot of great stuff coming up and a lot of great information that's going to be shared with you tonight. It's kind of an exciting night because we're going over where we are as a school or as 2 schools in terms of our goals and our priorities. So it's kind of a big night tonight to really see all of the amazing things that we've been doing for our kids. So thank you so much. And with that, I will hand it back over to Delight, your member Travis. You're muted.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kernan. Appreciate the comments. With that being said, the next agenda item is director's reports, and I am actually going to go ahead and go first on this. I have one comment to make. I want to thank everybody, actually 2 comments. I want to thank everybody for all their hard work that they've been doing to kind of help and make the school better and better for our students and our families. I would also like to put a request in for staff to examine capacity issues and come back with recommendations on what we can do in the short term to help alleviate the how many students are on each campus, whether that means more portables or what the options may be, so that we have more space on our campuses for our students to thrive. So I would like to officially put that request in as a board of directors member to have reported out at our next meeting what are additional space options that can help us with our current capacity challenges. So with that being said, let's go to member Kagoo.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody's hard work as well. One sort of plug for our staff to parents who are listening. I mean, look, we don't have a choice of not conforming to local regulations and health code regulations. So, we are all the staff are liable for code violations because they're responsible for maintaining it. So, to the extent that you guys can, please be cooperative as we sort of sort through all the different complex regulations that are coming through. Hopefully, we're starting to see. I mean, I said this a few months back. I feel bad. I shouldn't say it again, but hopefully we're seeing the back of Omicron. And thank you for all of your hard work in keeping our champions safe, our teachers safe, our staff safe, and I look forward to more and more activity in campus when it's safe and legal. Thank you.
Member Smith.
I just have 2 comments. I want to say hello and thank you to our students who are joining us tonight. Ms. Taylor, thank you for leading us in the pledge. We really appreciate your participation in our meetings. You are what we are here for, so thank you. And I also just want to send a thank you to the Freeler family for the generous equipment donation. It's very much appreciated. Thanks.
Wonderful. Member Agarwal.
I do have a couple of comments. I underscore what Director Travis said about looking at space planning. Even if we were to go ahead or go without the expansion, we need to apparently get some capacity issues resolved. My understanding is I'm hearing that there is capacity issues, and then I'm hearing there's not capacity issues. So I'm going to go with what Amy Kernan says, and she says, we've got everything that we need to, and we could do some more things that would make the environment better but as far as I'm understanding from the executive director, everything is fine, and we're working towards making it even better. So that's my understanding. If there's some other thing that I need to understand, then let me know that, but that's my understanding currently. And, we did not know about any of these capacity issues until February, the first study session. So I want to be clear that we're trying to do our best. And again, we have to do our due diligence. We're not going to take this organization in a direction that is not thought out, not thought through. So I would like some understanding on the fact that we are just doing our best, and we never want to do anything without thinking it through. So I hope everyone understands that. And I appreciate everyone's hard work. And thank you.
All right, Member Jackson.
Well, I can't top any of that. Everything you guys said, I think, is spot on. And so more of the same.
Thank you so much, Member Jackson. And with that, I am going to go ahead and move to the items for presentation. Can we please receive the financial report?
Can I get access to share?
Yeah, for some reason, I thought I made you co-host. All right, you're good now.
Thank you. Okay, so I have a quick financial update. These are based off of your financials through the end of January. So for both schools, your operating income for the end of the year is pretty stable. Both schools projected at a positive operating income, SOC at $455,000 for the end of this year, and SV for $325,000. So really looking strong so far for the year compared to what we've been seeing as well. In terms of what has changed since we last presented to you, there were some adjustments between revenues and expenses, but overall they netted to kind of still staying within what we were projecting for your end of year operating income. The changes that we made, they were at both sites. So just as a reminder, the positive numbers are a positive impact to operating income, and negative numbers are negatively impact operating income. So
On here, we are forecasting more revenue from your nutrition program. We did budget conservatively, anticipating a little bit of a loss in that program, but we're now adjusting for a break even since we've seen that higher reimbursement rates from the state. We also are projecting higher ERMS revenue. This is related to special ed, ERMS mental health services. And so that is additional revenue that is from your SELPA that we are projecting at this point now that we have initial figures from the SELPA. In terms of salaries, we are forecasting an increase in certificated salaries, primarily through additional positions that we've increased in terms of teachers. However, this was offset, the cost increase was not as large as it might have been, as we did have some leave of absences that did kind of offset some of those costs as well. On classified salaries, we did have some savings as we've had some open positions in there. And so we've gone ahead, since we're more than halfway through the year, recognized some of those savings. And so it's about 25,000 at SOC and 16,000 at SV. And then the last adjustment was supplies and technology. We did see instructional supplies. Most of the budget had been spent at this point in the year. So assuming that we would continue to see some material purchases through the rest of the year. And then the large item was really around the TVs in each of the classrooms that I think the board had approved at a previous board meeting. And then in terms of the specifics on the check registers, check and credit card transactions that we had flagged. So the TVs is the second item that second check on here that was flagged. The Boys and Girls Club of Laguna Beach, that one was flagged as we were anticipating this to come in higher than what we had budgeted, but we basically had some savings in staff and were able to use some of these contracted services to help with some of the open positions, since we haven't been able to fill some of those positions. And so that one was just, it didn't have an impact to your forecast since we had savings on staffing to offset it. And then that is my presentation, unless there's any questions or comments.
All right, any questions or comments from board members?
If
Well,
I
thank
may, I just wanted to say thank you to Amita for all her help and support during my time here. And so we're going to miss you. And, you know, again, thank you so much for your continuous support. It's been great, and I really appreciate that from you. So thank you.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure working with all of you.
I actually have another comment too. We're transitioning from ed tech to an in-house financial system and management. So Amita's been here since I've been here, which is like September of 2019, something like that. And 2020, sorry, it's a blur. But I appreciate you very much, and thanks for all of the work and all my questions. You've always answered so nicely, and I have so many of them. So I appreciate you, and we're going to miss you. Thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome. It's really has been such a pleasure working with all of you, and I'm excited to see where you all will go. So definitely keep me in the loop.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Member Travis, if I may. I want to ask my customary question of how is the project going of transitioning? Are you guys all set? Is that?
I'm actually, Mr. Kagu, presenting on that tonight.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments from the board? All right. Moving right along, the school report, Mr. Bridges.
It's actually going to be Miss Alvarado tonight and SOC.
Okay, perfect.
Good evening, members of the board and OPA community. We have a very special presentation tonight, not only because we are presenting, but we have 3 special guests. They are our students. We have with us, which you guys already heard from, is Haley Taylor, who is our ASB president, Meadow Nelms, who is a 6th grader, Elena Polly, 6th grade, who is with us today. So they will be presenting throughout the few slides that we have for you guys tonight. So Haley Taylor is going to present to all of you a little bit about our school choice in OPA Chooses Kindness Week. You want to go ahead, Haley?
Yes. Awesome. Hello again. So recently during the week of January 24th through 22nd, OPA hosted a school choice week event, which also just so happened to land during Kindness Week. So we decided that it would be super fun if we combine them both to make it just one super fun, memorable week for all the champions. And we actually had a really great turnout. It was super fun for everybody. So as usual, we usually do this every year. We have dress up days and spirit days for students so we can stay involved, and everybody got to dress up for a separate theme every day. And so on Friday was Yellow Out Day, which everybody always looks forward to because it's super fun to see everybody dressed up in all yellow. And so at the end of the day also, we had a school-wide school choice week dance, which was led by some of the ASB members, which we can see in the picture right here. So that was super fun. We all got to have a fun time out there. And so as of today, we have also received a total of 339 applications, which is amazing because it shows parents and students support to school choice and how important it is for everybody. So now we have a video which shows the pep rally or the assembly that we had with the school choice.
Sorry about that. Okay. Thank you, Haley, for presenting for us and sharing a little bit about what we recently did and how we celebrated. We also want to share a little, I want to share a little bit about what is happening in the classrooms. You may be wondering, I know that parents want to learn more about what's happening in the classroom, what type of instruction our students are receiving. I have two different presentations that I would like to share with you. One of them is one lesson on Socratic Seminar. And this is a student-led discussion. It's a method of student inquiry rather than the teacher giving a lecture. And this type of lesson elicits student ownership, deep thinking, critical thinking, in questioning, academic vocabulary, as well as rooted sense of community for the students. And although this happened to be in Professor Sessions' classroom, and although she was kind of off stage on the side of this circle that you will see in just a minute, a meaningful and effective Socratic seminar takes a lot of work, and it only happens when the intentional planning is there, and also and when the professor has invested the time and also lots of energy on making sure that the students know how to lead this Socratic seminar without her having to intervene constantly in allowing students to lead the discussions and do the teaching. So here's a little example.
Whoever was last can call the next.
And we have two student leaders.
So I have some evidence. She changes as a person because during the event, like during the second rule change, she comes up with the idea with the night walk. And it says like we both know they have to have a victor on page 344. And it says if Peter and I were both to die, or they thought we were. And so then that's where she finds it. And it kind of like brings in the star-crossed lovers, but it also shows how clever she is throughout the games. And she kind of like changes as a person. She feels like she needs to outsmart the capital to like prove a point or something. Okay, so she changes as a person.
There's another student responding, and if you notice, there was someone leading that.
Her relationship completely grows with Peter. The star-crossed lovers are actually coming through. Maybe it might not be like romantically, but she definitely cares for Peter, not just her saving him always.
So one of the things that you don't see or can't see that's on the floor, there's pennies all over the floor, and students were given the opportunity to give their 2 cents. So every student brought 2 pennies, and they threw in 1 penny whenever they gave their opinion, 2nd penny when they gave their 2nd opinion, and that held students accountable for making sure that they participated and contributed to the discussion. The next one, just give me a second here, is our 6th grade science, and we have Meadow Nelms and Elena Polly, who are here to share a little bit about what they did in the classroom. But and so if I can have Meadow and Elena get ready. This is a lesson, science lesson in 6th grade, and there is a simulation project in which there's an engineering internship that allows students to design solutions for real world problems that requires them to help out those in need and figure out how to support them. And this is in Professor Huen's class. And Meadow and Elena, are you ready? Let's see, I saw both of, there you are, Elena.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead and share what you did in class. And I think that's the back of you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell us what you were working on.
Okay, so it was kind of like a project, but there's this on what was it called? Amplify, and there's like this sim where it's like a little neighborhood, and there's combustion, like tons, historic value, cost, and what was the other one? There was another one I can't remember right now, but and then what we had to do was we had to set like some of the houses, like there's houses and buildings, and you had to pick from like original roof, which costs 0, solar, or white roof. And the white roof costs less than the solar roof compared to like big roofs and small roofs. And what we had to try to do was figure out what was the best design, like what had less cost, high historic value, and low combustion. Yeah, combustion. And we did this multiple times, and me and Meadow were partners, and we tried to see which one of ours was the best design. And then when we did that, we turned it, or we submitted it, and then the next day we got feedback and from the teacher. And then once we got feedback, it said what we needed to do and like what was good, and we tried to make it better. And then the final design we had to submit, which we think was the best design. I think.
Yes. Great job, Elena, sharing this. And I'm going to quickly share a video of students not only had to work individually, they also had to work collaboratively. So here's a short video of what you would hear in the entire classroom. So students had different designs, and they were trying to convince each other as to which design was the best for them to submit as a team. And there was a lot of collaboration, communication, and critical thinking going on. So that's what, just wanted to share a little bit of what's happening in the classroom. And the final slide is, I just wanted to share that we had chancellors for the day. We had a total of 5 students, and this this was an opportunity that was made possible through our readathon fundraising event, in which Honor Society raised $40,000 this year. And just the last video that I wanted to share is one of our students who was a chancellor for the day. His name is Calix Freiler.
Good morning. Today's chancellor for the day is?
Me,
And what is your name, sir?
Calix.
Tell me what you're going to do today.
I'm also going to do is extra research for my class,
Great.
but also no homework.
I'm sure students will love that.
I'll also do is go to classes and check if they're doing things right.
Wonderful.
And also for the kindergarten.
Okay. Are you going to be visiting their recess and supervising recess?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. But also an announcement to have a great rest of your day.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you, Chancellor for the day, Calix Freiler. Good.
Thank you. And that concludes my presentation. I had a wonderful time with the students. Every single one of them was so unique and had their own ideas about what a chancellor does for the day on any given day. And it was a wonderful experience with every single one of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What an awesome presentation. And what amazing things that's going on at SOC. Really incredible to see. With that being said, let's move on to the organizational update by David.
Thank you. Well, I also want to make this an evening of gratitude. It's my wonderful opportunity tonight to share some great stories about some of our partners and some of our employees. So I'll start with Amita Parikh and the entire EdTech team. You all stole my thunder before. It's been a pleasure again working with you, Amita. I hope you'll pass along to the entire team. The last 2 years, you've made all the difference. And thank you again. We wish you well, and we will keep in touch. So I wanted to put that out there on behalf of OPA. Secondly, I wanted to talk about what Mr. Kagu brought up, and that has to do with our Sage Intact implementation. The board approved this many months ago, and it looks like my internet is having a problem. So I'm going to stop my video. Okay, so Mr. Kagu brought up the Sage Intact implementation, and I wanted to, the board approved it many months ago. Rosa Palomino has spearheaded this and started with OPA about a year ago, and really learned the culture, learned where we were working with EdTech, and then set upon a task to determine which vendor we would select. She made a great decision with some help of others, and really hit it hard as far as making sure that it was going to fit for OPA. So Ms. Palomino has been working nonstop, okay, I can assure you. Sleepless nights, making sure that we have what we need, lots of details. And we've been on, I don't know how many dozens of calls for many months with our new vendor, and also CLA, which is an accounting firm that supports Sage Intact. So it's great software. Mr. Jackson used it yesterday. We've all been using it at the school sites. We'll be able to have great reporting going forward, and it's really poises us for success. So I want to do a huge shout out to Rosa Palomino for what you've done for OPA, and we're almost to the goal line, right? Yes. And I don't know if you want to say something, but let's do an applause for Rosa. Can we do that?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Barley. It's it's not a one-man show. I had a lot of help from everybody, including Miss Amita Parikh. She helped me a lot just understanding the financials, in a different system, but just she was always answering my questions too from 2-3 years ago. Just poking around in the financials, and obviously I want to also thank you, Mr. Barley. You've been very supportive throughout this process, as well as Dr. Kernan, just helping me out as well with, hey, what do you think about this? And do you see this? And can I check your screen? And, everybody at the school site has been very patient with me, the chancellors and the office managers. Thank you guys so much. You guys have been great. Great during this transition. Our office admin team as well at the Aliso Viejo location. Thank you, everybody there. So if I missed you, I'm sorry, but please know that this is a team effort. And I just want to say thank you guys for during this transition. So thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. Clearly you've won awards before and you're really good at an impromptu speech. Nice. So secondarily, I want to do a shout out for Eva Opanasek, who has similarly worked on a transition and implementation with Paylocity. So we are taking in-house our payroll. And again, many, many months ago, the board approved this. And sometimes you don't know what happens behind the scenes, but this is for everyone's benefit. Tons of work similar to any implementation, many phone calls, all of that. And it's really been tremendous. So I wanted to thank Eva for your work, Eva Opanasek, and many, again, it's really a ditto of what I just said. So many calls, so much work, making sure that all employees got paid with this transition this week without any glitches, and so much behind the scenes. So Eva, we want to do an applause for you as well. Thank you so much. All right. And then finally, Eva, would you like to say anything? You're welcome to.
Thank you, Mr. Barley. Just quick words. As Rosa mentioned, it's not one-man show, it's a team effort, and I appreciate everyone's support. We've been through some challenges, but we are on the hump, over the hump. So I'm looking forward to our final destination. It's been great working with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. And Eva's been in her position for, I think, 2 years now, over 2 years now. So we have a lot of stability in human resources now, thanks to Eva. So thank you again. And then the last thing I wanted to share, there's so many things going on in operations, so I'll just highlight one quick thing. I've been working with the honor societies at each school, and they are funding, it looks like, actually we received funding at SV, and I know it's been presented to SOC for a learning garden. So it's an honor society learning garden and demo garden. We're using in the courtyard at SV, that space in the middle, and then also spaces at SOC for there to be demonstration gardens and gardens for butterfly garden, things that tie to the academics of each grade level. The STEAM teachers and other teachers have been involved. We've had one meeting last week. We have another follow-up meeting next week. We hired a landscape art designer who has done this at schools in Orange County. So she totally knows what to do in order to lead it. We expect a lot of parent engagement as well as staff and student engagement as we move forward. Very exciting programmatic activity, and it will be built this spring and then planting into the fall, but it's going to be very exciting. So I wanted to share that one thing this time, but so much going on in operations, and thanks for bearing with me. I know it was a lot tonight, but I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you, David. You guys are always behind the scenes making things happen. So just want to do a shout out of appreciation for all the hard work that your team does and your leadership with that. And kudos to Eva and Rosa for all their hard work. So thank you guys on behalf of the board. Moving right along, our next update is from Dr. Henry, and it is a curriculum and instruction update.
I thought I was going to get ahead and start presenting, but I didn't unmute before I started presenting. So excuse me for that. Let me try again. Here we go. And okay, I am super excited to share with you our curriculum and instruction update. There is a whole lot going on. Where's my slideshow? Come on. Let's see. It's not presenting. I can just scroll down the slides. So our professors, I really have to have a shout out. I don't see a lot of them on this meeting, but well, there we go. But for sharing their lessons with me, inviting me. I get a lot of pictures on my phone, and it's super exciting because then I get to share everything with you. And so here are some highlights for the multiple intelligences that we've had. And I had so many that I've now started keeping in my notebook a list of all the great lessons so that I can share them out with you. But our student composer projects for our music classes, our champions have created small books and they're learning how to read notes and music. And as someone who always wished I had learned to do that, I just love popping in and watching that magic happen. Our 7th graders had done a plate movement project where they created models. You're going to see pictures on the next slide to learn about earth plates and divergent, convergent, and lateral slipping of plates. And they did models out of like graham crackers, things like that. We have had Black History Month. All of our grade levels at both schools. I've seen so many activities over the month of February. They've been doing research. Some have been writing essays. I've seen many MI projects, physical like timelines and highlights on walls of everything that they're learning, all during Black History Month. And then some highlights for our 6th graders. I saw some great presentations and lessons going on of for climate change and a green footprint. Our champions created these green islands, and the challenge was to come up with the lowest carbon footprint possible. And they had to do a business proposal. They did research. They created the island, so visually, also with the arts, and then they presented their proposal to the class. And then also the same students, but in their ELA history classes, were researching the Chinese dynasties, and they presented geography, timelines, achievement. So here's a few pictures from that. You can see some different activities. Upper left, that is the green islands, lower left as well. Here's our timeline on the bottom for Black History Month. You can see the dynasty presentations. I also went into a 1st grade class and they were doing these mobiles, doing research on different animals and habitats, eating preferences. So a lot of exciting things going on in our classroom. But what's really kind of blown me away a little bit this last month is all of the enrichment activities going on at both schools. February has really been a month of enrichment. We have had Lunar New Year celebrated, Kindness Week. You saw in the SOC presentation that Kindness Week was also kind of mixed with School of Choice Week, which was really exciting. And each campus had a week of activities every day. We are currently in the Kids Heart Challenge, which is a partnership with the American Red Cross, or I think it's the American Red Cross. No, that's our PD, sorry. American Heart Association, excuse me, is for Kids Heart Challenge. And there's all of these challenges that are going on. And I know that it's going to conclude, I think it's May 4th at one of the sites with a big jump off, but there have been a lot of like virtual assemblies and different activities. Our SB students had their 4th grade walk through history. Both schools have been doing this. They just happened to have it in February. Our schools celebrated the 100th day of school. And then also we had Valentine's Day. Here are some of the photos. For Valentine's Day, it was really nice to have our parents at SOC after school. They came onto the campus and decorated doors. So you can see a few of the doors in there. Some pictures of our our kids for the 100th day of school and their activities, and then Kindness Week as well. Professional learning has been super exciting. So you heard last few presentations that thinking maps were coming. We had our first training on Friday, the 11th, and our staff has been so excited. It's not even been a week since our training, and we just kind of threw out there, like, just try one of the things that we've learned. And if you do, send some pictures. And I'm amazed at what they've sent. So just so you also know some things that are coming up, we do have in March our full day release day. And we plan in the morning to do some vertical alignment activities where all the grade levels are learning what skills the previous grade level needs to come in and be successful, and then what kind of our big bucket items are. So that's going to be an exciting activity. And also we are having all of our staff in the afternoon CPR trained and certified. So that's been that's going to be exciting for them. And someone who came from outside of the organization, I can tell you that is great that we are able to do that for our professors, and actually all of our staff will be invited to that. So here's a little bit about the Thinking Maps training. It was on February 11th. And then also we will have the 2 core trainings for February 11th and then also February 25th. And then after that, that's going to be like all the meat of the training. We're going to have 4 additional trainings for coaching and implementation, and just to make sure that it's not a one and done and that we're using them. And then here are some of the pictures, and also on the next slide, that I've received just in the last 3 days of Thinking Maps being implemented in the classroom. So here's a few more, all the way from first grade. I heard our TKers were doing a Thinking Map, and then we're using them in middle school as well. So this is awesome. And then finally, our STEAM teachers at both sites have been implementing Art Masters. We know that this is a program that our parents have traditionally brought to OPA. And I had a meeting earlier on in the school year when I first, was kind of getting to know things, and we didn't want it to be something that went away. And we are looking forward to having it traditionally brought by our parents at a future date. But for right now, it's a way for our STEAM teachers to put the A in STEAM, since it's science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So Georgia O'Keefe has been studied at SOC for the last few weeks, and Vincent Van Gogh at SV. So here's some pictures of all of the art, and I was able to see the Art Masters or Meet the Masters lesson being presented at one of the schools, and now the kids are doing some more of the hands-on activities. So that's all I have for that presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Any questions from the board? Nope. Okay, with none, we will be moving on to your next presentation, and I believe it's called the Lcap. Is that the Lcap supplement? Sorry.
Yes, it is. And give me a second to set up our presentation.
And if I can introduce this while we're talking. So Dr. Kernan said in her director remarks that this was going to be very exciting, the Lcap supplement presentation. So just a little bit of pressure. We're going to make it as exciting as we can, but to set the stage for you just a little bit, you're used to seeing the Lcap presentation in June. And every year we're working under an Lcap. It really is a 3-year plan. We update it, we present it to you in June. But because there's been, actually, you can go to the next slide, Trish.
Okay.
It's Luke Roth. We kind of go over the overview. So because this year we had received so much COVID monies from CDE, that we were required to do a midterm review. So when we first learned of this, I would say maybe it wasn't as exciting, but I will tell you, doing the work and really kind of looking at where we are has been really great for the organization. I know for me, I can speak for Ms. Lukeroth and Ms. Palomino as well. We've really had to take stock of where we are now. And so we still have time to address if there's still some places we need to go. So this is considered a midterm review to the Lcap. And our intent for this was to really address all the extra funding that we had and how we've aligned that. So Ms. Palomino updated the 21-22 budget overview for parents. So that was the one that was approved in June. Again, we're doing a mid-year review. We did a review of all the data and all the expenditures. And then the other requirement is that we presented here. So next slide. This slide goes into the three different parts, and you'll see that Ms. Palomino will be doing the budget overview for parents. She's going to talk about the financial piece and where we are at this time of the year. Ms. Lukeroth is going to be talking about the prompts that we had to submit. So we had to kind of analyze, that's more of the writing behind it. And then you'll see, I'll do a little presentation about the mid-year review of the data. And then we also had to look at all of our actions and services, which, so you can see the numbers there. We had 228 data elements to revisit, and then 36 actions and services and you have those documents in the board folder, so you can see exactly where we are with everything that we had planned.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Henry. So as she mentioned, I will be just going over the financial piece of the Lcap supplement. So in your agenda, you will see the budget overview for parents for both SOC and SV. SOC plans to spend $8.4 million for the 2021 school year, and of that amount, $5.2 million is tied to actions and services specifically in the Lcap, and $260,000 is towards increased or improved services for high needs students such as foster youth, English learners, and low-income students. And now for Saddleback Valley, they plan to spend about $7.2 million for the 2021-22 school year, and of that amount, $4.6 million is tied directly to the actions and services of the Lcap, and $182,000 towards increased or improved services for high needs students, again, foster youth, English learners, and low-income students. And amounts that are not included in the Lcap will be used for facilities maintenance, utilities, lease costs, legal fees, and other expenditures of this nature. Next slide, please. Here, I just want to highlight a few kind of substantial goals and actions in the Lcap, and these are shared by both SV and SOC. We want to hire and retain highly skilled credentialed teachers, instructional assistants, and instructional support staff to support students with special needs, as well as highly skilled office and administrative staff to support student learning, provide world language, music instruction, enrichment opportunities such as Taekwondo, and then provide accelerated math classes for advanced students such as algebra, 6th grade accelerated and 7th grade accelerated, ELD classes to support our English learners, and intervention classes and opportunities to support struggling students in core academic areas. And lastly, provide standards-based curriculum for all students for all core subject areas. We have programs such as ELA Wonders and StudySync, Math iReady for grades K to 5, EdGems for 6 through 8. And in the science area, we have Amplify, ELD iLit, social emotional learning for TK through 8. Next slide, please. Also attached to your agenda and in your board folder is the actual expenditures. And I just want to highlight that these actual expenditures are basically the same numbers tied to our first interim. First interim is expenses from July 1st through October 31st, 2021. And at that point of time, that's about 33% of the fiscal year. And in relation to the Lcap expenditures, SOC has spent 29% of the Lcap, and SV has spent 28% of the Lcap. You will also notice that there are some $0 actuals. And I just want to highlight that these goals and actions represent dollar amounts that have not occurred as of, again, 10/31/2021, such as gate testing that comes later on in the year. Some other $0 items are being funded from other sources, such as in-person instruction monies, or they may not occur as planned due to unforeseen circumstances, again, because of COVID. When we planned for the LCAP, this was over a year ago. So, we were anticipating that COVID would kind of go away or things would get better. So we were planning as such. But as we know, COVID has continued, so that, again, some of these items will not occur because of COVID. Okay.
Thank you, Rosa. The LCAP supplement prompts. These documents, there's one for SV and one for SOC, and these are the prompts that we must complete to explain what we've spent our pots of money on that we did not use in our LCAP. These are the supplemental funds we received from the federal government and the state in response to COVID-19. So the prompts, I listed the prompts on the first 2 prompts on this slide, how we engage our educational partners, what used to be called stakeholders, which we all are. Now it's called education. We are all called educational partners. How do we engage everyone in deciding what we are going to spend that money on? So the first prompt talks about state funding, the state pots of money, the one-time funding that we were given for such things as expanded learning for our students, ways to intervene when they're coming back from COVID, distance learning, in-person instruction monies. What are we doing to support that? And also some supplemental funding we received for special education. The second prompt also asks what we did with the federal pots of money, those one-time monies from the federal government that we were given in addition to our LCAP money. What did we spend that on relating to that recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic? Such things as our big pot of money, there have been 3 pots since COVID began, is called ESSER, the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund. That's the 3rd pot of money for COVID relief, and it asks us to talk a little bit about what we're doing, what we're spending that money on, and then how we've engaged our educational partners in that. The next prompt is talking about the American Rescue Plan Act. The main funding source within that is ESSER 3. We received different pots of monies leading up to this year, and we have spent those monies as they've come in. So some of the items they ask us to talk about, we simply described, we spent that money during this year on these things. This year, the main funding source, we're using it on things such as professional learning, health and safety. If you remember our COVID safety plan, our COVID return to instruction plan, we talk a lot about health and safety, social emotional supports for our learners, our counselors, PBIS, and our summer school options. And then also a description of how we use this money, because it's not built into our LCAP, our state funds that we get for our LCAP. How did we align that to our LCAP goals and actions? So a lot of intentional thought was put into all of this money because it's coming from all over. And we did a really great job. And I'm going to say we, even though many of us arrived after some of these pots of money were spent, but a lot of thought was put into aligning it with that LCAP, our yearly plan, and the LCAP, our 3-year strategic plan. How does this money supplement what we're already doing, not supplant it, but how does it supplement what we've already planned to do in our yearly plan, our LCAP for each school? So there's a description of how it aligns to each goal and action in the LCAP in those plans.
Great, thank you. So as we said, our 3 tasks with the LCAP supplement were to really look at the mid-year, where are we now? And then we will revisit this, and this will help also as additional input, feedback, all of the things that we had to look at in planning for our June LCAP. But one of the things that we had to do was a mid-year data review of all of the data. So there were a lot of data points, as I said. So this is just a brief overview, but you can look at those reports in more detail. But for goals 1 and 2, a lot of the data, the goal 1 is more of the academic. A lot of that data was presented at the January meeting, like the CASP scores, the iReady test scores. So I didn't want to repeat those data elements again, since you had just been presented those. But something interesting was really looking at our attendance rates. So our previous LCAP had looked at attendance rate from the last time ADA was really published, which was 2018-19 pre-COVID, because we were held harmless for a while. And our attendance rate at SV was 97.3. I'm sorry, SOC 97.3 and SB 98.5, but really looking at where we were, and this was as of last week, that we ran the attendance rate again, and we are still well above 90%. In fact, both sites are at 95% and a little extra, and that's quite amazing for this year, especially compared to surrounding districts. And I do know in the board report recently, you saw the ADA and where all of the districts in Orange County, other charter schools, where everybody was for, I think it was P1, and we were one of the few organizations in Orange County that was actually showing an increase in overall ADA. Truancy rates are also on track to be lower than they were pre-pandemic. So we had a 16% truancy rate at SV, and right now we're at 3.8%. So I imagine that's going to be much lower. And for SOC, they were at 6.7% pre-pandemic, and right now we're at 6.1. So that could be the same, probably will be a little bit lower. The survey data, we looked at all of the survey data that was included in goal 1, and that was the LCAP survey from last year that was given to parents, students, and staff. And because we did this interim, we now have time before the final LCAP is done to revisit, to look at all of those survey points and see where we can make some improvements. And then also goal 2 is looking at things like professional learning for our teachers, and we are definitely on track. And because of that additional funding, we were able to do some extra professional learning opportunities. Next slide.
Can I ask real quick before you go on, the truancy rate drop at SV, that's like dramatic, but I know there's a few years in between the numbers you're looking at, right? So maybe we can't speak to why, but do you have any sense why? Is it because of all the sliming opportunities that have been happening, or what?
I'm gonna guess a few things, and then I'm sure Amy Cernan's gonna wanna jump in because she was here. But truancy is defined, well, Amy, do you wanna jump in before I go? I think, did you want to?
So truancy is defined as students having multiple unexcused absences. And we've really worked hard at first communicating with our families that, when your students are out, we know families are going to take vacations and things like that, but to try to minimize those as much as possible during the, during school time, so that kids aren't being pulled out of class. Because even going on vacation does count as a truancy because it's an unexcused absence. And then we've also had both of our registrars at each site have done an amazing job of making sure that when students are gone for things like vacations or going out of town, that they have them do short-term independent study contracts. So when a student does a short-term independent study contract, they're considered as being in school as long as they complete the work. And so those then don't become absences. So I think kind of a combination of really increasing our communication around attendance, as well as just the amazing work of the registrars, making sure that everybody is completing those independent study packets and turning them in, has definitely made a dramatic increase in our attendance rates and decrease in our truancy rates.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Awesome. That was exactly, yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I knew you could say it better. So Did you have another question, Dr. Amy Smith, or?
No, thank
that
you.
good? Okay. So then our mid-year data review, and again, in the full report, there are 228 data elements that were updated. So this is definitely just a brief highlight. We didn't want to take the time to go over those, but for goals 3 and 4, which are more about our positive learning environment and kind of more like mental health, things like that, our goal 3, and then goal 4 is our parent involvement and community involvement. So a few of the highlights from that are our suspension rates are still really low, despite the fact that we are fully in person at this point. Well, for the most, we have a virtual learning program, but our regular program is fully in person, unlike last school year, which was kind of a shifting learning environments. And across the state, there's an increase in behaviors. We have seen some increase in behaviors. So really pleased when we round the suspension rate as of right now. And the rate is the numbers that of students who have been suspended at least once during the school year. So SOC had 0 suspensions for last year. They're now at 0.2%, and SV was at 0.1%, and now they're at 0.9. So I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to keep this below 1% for both of our schools, which is great because it is a very unique year. Our parent survey showed an increase in positive learning environments from both sites when we did our Lcap survey more recently. We've seen increases in the number of students that report that they have friends on campus. So that was nice since not all of them had access to campus last year. And when we tracked the number of parent involvement activities we had last year to this year, we are on track and hopefully going to be able to increase them, especially as the surge has decreased. Next slide. I think something that was really actually interesting to do for this mid-year review for the Lcap supplement was to look at all of our actions and services, which are 36, 38, I can't, from the first slide, and look at 36, where we are right now with everything that we said we were going to do by the end of the year. And it was pretty exciting to see that all of our actions and services have been addressed or are in progress. There really was nothing and in any of the goals, any of the services that we have not made progress on. And you can read more about that in the kind of detailed report. And then also, not only have we made progress in all of those areas, but the additional COVID-19 funding has allowed us to expand on the actions and services in a lot of the areas. For example, increases in professional learning activities and opportunities for our staff. We've also increased our technology, and we've been able to increase our staffing to better support our teachers. Specifically, I'm referring to the rotational teachers at each site and the residential subs at each site, so that with the absences that we've had of teachers when we had the COVID surge recently, we haven't been able to haven't had to put so much pressure on our teachers to cover each other's classes and things like that. So the additional monies have definitely helped us to better serve our students and our organization as a whole. Next slide. And that's all we have for the Lcap supplement. Are there any questions that you have for us?
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Sorry, I have one question, one comment. Up front, there was a page that talked about the proportion of Lcap money that's been spent so far. That seemed to be unusually low for a mid-year report. Is that just an artifact of when we pay those things?
You have to remember that is only through October. So we're looking at July, August, September, and October. School starts, in the middle end of August. So it's only capturing those months of activity and finances. So not much has happened during those first, 2.5 months of school. per se.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Palomino.
You're welcome.
And then,
Oh, can I piggyback? For the supplement, we were able to use the first interim review, which was in October. For the data elements, we were expected to go a little bit further into the school year. So that helps.
thank you. That's helpful. That's helpful because there's like seems like a lot of work's been done, but I guess the timing for the data for the funds is different from the timing for the activity. That's great. And then the one thing that I would, and it doesn't have to be here, but I would like to have some kind of a plan. Perhaps you could point me in the right direction of what are the elements of parent involvement that we are aiming to do in the context of, not the parents not being on campus and so on. I think a lot of to Dr. Kernan's earlier question, some of the feedback that we're probably getting is also because of people are not able to see all the great activity that's going on as well, or parents are not exposed or given the opportunity to be involved. And so I would love to get a better feel for what is our game plan like in the previous page you had it that you're on track to enhance or improve parental involvement. I would love to get a little bit more details. I could actually take it offline, Dr. Henry, if you want, but I just want to understand what are we trying to do.
Yeah, I'll make a comment. So I'll make 2 comments. So on the data sheet where you saw all of the data being updated, it's goal 4. So it's the last tab for SOC and SV. You can see the parent involvement activities listed. They have the ones from last year. So you can see the total that we had from last year, and then you can have what we've had so far this year. So that's one side. If you really want to look in a little more detail, you can look at that data that was provided. But also, we did have in our admin touchdown meeting a conversation about this, especially as we're seeing Omicron flattening out. We're not having the numbers that we've had. So in our conversation, we decided that we wanted to wait until for 2 weeks until the new guidance was given for schools, because as you know, guidance has been given for the state of California about masking and other things, but they're waiting until February 28th to release new guidance for schools. So we thought, let's wait for that date and then really revisit everything we are doing and what can we do more of. So it's been a conversation, and it will be. And so maybe if Mr. Cuckoo, if you'd like us, after we see what the new school mandates are and how things are relaxed, if they are relaxed, and then we're going to revisit what we can do with our families. We're happy to bring that back to the board.
Yeah, I think practically you should imagine that these mandates are going to remain for a while, or it's going to be risky to have a lot of parents on campus. So I would imagine that you want to identify online ways to do it, right? I mean, how do you expose? I mean, one of the things I think we talked about in the past was when we have an open house, could we do like I think you guys were talking about perhaps doing a streaming of the classroom so that parents can see what's inside the classroom and see all the good work that they're doing. So I wonder if there are other creative ideas like that. Because I mean, we're already in February, and I have no sense that between now and June, we'll be able to get a lot of parents back on campus. So if you guys can start thinking about creative ways to engage the parents with the work that I honestly believe that there's so much work going on campus. There's so many different activities going on campus that parents of kids like my son, who is like, he barely tells me what goes on in school. And so, like, I have no idea what they do in school, right? And so, like, Dr. Kernan was kind enough to walk me through campus, and it's just like unbelievable the amount of opportunities that are out there. I suspect that other parents would love to see some of that. So whether it's in the form of a video or something like that, I suspect we want to think about creative ways to do that.
So for our open houses, we had planned to have in-person open houses, and that is still the goal. So if you recall from a previous board meeting, we had planned for in-person open houses, and then because of the surge that we had the option to do them virtually, but we were still committed to bringing our parents back on campus and wanted to do them in person. So because of that, we pushed them back to when we were more hopeful, and I think we still are hopeful that we could have in-person open houses. So
yeah, I just think you need to find I think you need to find other way, because to your point, in person is going to be far and few between. But I for example, I've seen ideas such as, we'll live stream this. The kids carrying their book project. Right? Those are all really creative ideas that parents would absolutely love. And so, to the extent that we can continue to enhance that, improve that, and if you need infrastructure to make that happen, bring it to the board and we'll figure out how to get that done. Right? So
we also implemented a few weeks ago our focus groups at each site. And so there are a focus group of teachers that chose to be on the parent involvement focus group. And really the task was being creative with how we can increase and improve parental involvement now and in the future.
And so one last, if I can ask Chancellor Alvaro, did they get a break from school from the Chancellor for the day? I couldn't ask that question at that time, but did they get break from homework? Was the Chancellor for the day able to make that happen?
Yes, they were. They were able to give their classes, no homework, extra recess, and they had other ideas, but we didn't come to an agreement.
Any additional questions?
I had a comment and a question. If I can go, just thank you. I really appreciate all the effort that went into putting this together. Collecting, synthesizing data, I know is a timely, consumes a lot of time. So thank you. And my question is, so just overall looking at the progress to date, like what stood out for you as the areas like we probably really need to focus on, because maybe we're not showing as much progress as we would like?
Personally, going through all of the data elements I'm going to say more of the hard data, if I could use that word, I felt like we were on track. So looking at our iReady scores, a third of the way in, our kids aren't going to be fully on grade level, but everything's on track to be where we are or higher. And so again, like attendance, like all of those hard data elements, I feel like we're in really good shape. When I was looking at a lot of the survey data or more soft perception data, I think that's an area that I would like to look at a little bit deeper. We had a conversation with the chancellors, and because we will be doing, we'll be using this information to inform the writing of our next LCAP and using that with the other input that we're getting. We challenge them to really look at, okay, use this midterm to see where we are. And because we included the 3-year kind of goal that they included in last year's LCAP. So they put their baseline and where they hope to be in 3 years. And you can see where it's real simple to see kind of like in what areas do we need to improve and where are we on track. And then maybe in the LCAP also using some, because we did a recent survey, Dr. Kernan's recent survey, even just about expansion, had many of the same program questions that I want to kind of triangulate to see if, because the LCAP survey was in December and this is February, in some of those questions that carried on about just in perception of our programs, have we seen an improvement? Would it be worth it to even give the LCAP survey again towards the end of the year after we've had a chance to address some of the things and make some of these intentional improvements? I don't know if Rosa or Trish, you guys want to chime in. That was just my impression.
No, when looking at the goals and actions and the update of where we are on the goals and actions at each LCAP or the LCAP, I was very pleasantly surprised to see how we've used the extra monies we've gotten on top of what we allocated in our LCAP to take one step further in providing even more support in each area. as I went through each one, there's not one, like you said, Dr. Henry, there's not one action that hasn't been addressed, which is very unusual, especially coming out of COVID. And so, yes, looking at the data and looking at the possibility of doing a LCAP survey later in the year might give us a little bit more to drill down on, but it's just very impressive so far.
So me being a perfectionist, just is going to have to throw it out there that some of the data that I've seen across the board, we're doing really well. But some areas that we have continued to look at and we're working towards improving. I think, are just making sure that we're incorporating a lot of writing into our classrooms is an area that we've always been able to use some growth in. And I know Dr. Henry is training everyone in thinking maps right now. And we're moving into a writing program that will really help our students all the way from TK up through grade 8 to improve their writing skills. So I think that, that's still one piece of data that I think we can definitely improve in. And we're definitely looking at ways to keep that going. And then, there has still been some learning loss due to the pandemic and the decrease in instructional time with our students across the board. I think at OPA, our students have fallen behind less than most other students, even in our area. But we still have to look at making sure that we're providing those interventions so that none of our students are getting left behind. Because we still have some students who aren't meeting those grade level standards. So we want to constantly improve, and our intervention teachers have been doing an amazing job of catching those students and making sure they're getting back on track. But we still want to make sure that our data in that area continues to improve as well, making sure that we have less students that are kind of falling behind grade level.
And actually, that's a really good point, Dr. Kernan. It wasn't in the original, it wasn't a data point in the original LCAP. It wasn't one that we did a midterm review. It doesn't mean we didn't know COVID. Right. It doesn't mean we can't add it. But one area which she brought up, which I think we've had some discussions about around intervention, is we do have hard numbers of the students that are able to exit intervention in a timely manner. And I think that's something that I really like to see us working on as well. We don't want our intervention programs to be somewhere where kids sit. So it really is about how we can catch our students up and see them exit and be successful without it eventually. So I think those numbers are something too that we may add to our new LCAP coming up. Based on what we're learning, or regardless, we're keeping an eye on it, and it's something that we want to make sure that we're monitoring.
Thank you. So it sounds like, at least in terms of our LCAP goals, we're doing really well. Students are doing really well, despite challenges, especially those we've heard about recently that we might want to look at solutions for. Everyone's still, we're making progress, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Any other questions? Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to action items. And our first action item is approve the LCAP supplement. The first one is Oxford Preparatory Academy, Saddleback Valley. And number 2 is Oxford Preparatory Academy, South Orange County. California's 2021-2022 Budget Act, the Federal Act, American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, and the other state and other federal relief acts that provided local education agencies with a significant increase in funding to support students, teachers, staff, and their communities in recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic and to address the impacts of distance learning on students. The LCAP supplement is a one-time mid-year report to the local governing board providing progress related to engagement on and implementation of these acts. It is recommended that the Board of Directors approve action item A, 1 and 2. May I please receive a motion?
Make a
I'll make a
motion.
motion. Oh, I'll second.
Okay, thank you both. Roll call vote. Member Argawal,
Aye.
Member Jackson,
Aye.
Member Kagoo,
Aye.
Member Smith,
Aye.
and Member Travis is aye as well. Action item B, approval of purchase of 70 iPads to facilitate instruction and better utilize our classroom televisions. We are purchasing an iPad for each teacher so they can now cast the televisions while being able to move around the classroom. This purchase will provide iPads for all classroom-based teachers, STEM teachers, and specialty teachers. The cost of purchasing will not exceed $22,833 plus shipping and will be taken out of the funds already budgeted for the non-capitalized equipment. It is recommended that the Board of Directors approve action item B. May I please have a motion? Anybody?
I can make a motion.
Second.
Raymond, a second.
Wonderful. Roll call.
Member Travis, can I ask a question about this?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Is it now or after the motion?
You can do it now. You want to do it before we actually vote.
Yeah. Okay. So usually we use the Irvine USD contracts to buy electronic equipment, right? So this is along that same veins. Is that right?
So this is because this is going to be used for teacher devices and not student devices. We wouldn't use our E-rate funds. That's what we piggyback onto Irvine. So anytime we buy student devices, Chromebooks and things like that, then we get reimbursement through E-rate. But since these are actually going to be used as teacher devices, we would have to pay the cost. We wouldn't be able to submit that for E-rate.
And knowing you guys, you probably applied for the education discount and everything. I was like $320 bucks an iPad is what I calculated to be. So I assume that you guys already got the.
Yeah, we go through the Apple Education website. It's a special website for schools since we have a nonprofit status. So that's how we do all our ordering through Apple.
And I applaud you guys for doing this. I mean, this is another example of how we are like taking our teaching experience to the next level, right? So I mean, on the heels of having televisions now in the SV campus from projectors that, it's unbelievable. Now that we have that, now now that you're saying, okay, now we're going to have teachers be able to walk around and be able to project. This is great. So thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it definitely untethers them from their desk or a specific spot in the classroom, and even they can walk around, and even kids can use the iPads to project things up on the television. So it makes a much more versatile classroom.
Thank you. No more questions.
How are you tracking all these, where they go and who they go to, and how is that? Is it inventoried like we do our?
That is such a good question. So we have now we have an inventory system through our Aries student information system. So we're able to barcode everything. We're actually going to this summer go through and barcode all of our curriculum and actually be checking it out to students and teachers. We started actually with Stephanie's Thinking Maps binders, and we barcoded them. We uploaded the information into Aries and then used that with our little hand scanners, super fast to check them out to teachers. So the iPads will be the same thing. They'll have a barcode and they'll be checked out specifically to each classroom. Or specifically to each teacher. And then all of that information is housed in Aries where all of our other information is.
And we've named this summer, it is going to be called the Summer of Inventory. And everything is going to be inventoried that hasn't before. So we have real numbers. And then also anytime then a staff member, if they are transitioning from us or a student is going to a different school, all we have to do is hit a button and it'll list all the assets. They call them district assets. So books, computers, notebooks, whatever has been checked out to them, what the value of each of those are. So then we know exactly what needs to be returned to us.
And Dr. Henry,
that's very cool.
Dr. Henry, is there a way, and going back to the question I had asked before about parental engagement, is this going to be too burdensome to, between now and the end of the school year, when things settle down, asking perhaps each of the professors to send two or three pictures as part of their weekly email just once during during the rest of the year, just to say, here's our classroom and here's sort of how it's configured, and here's some of the projects that your kids have done, and here's the IT that we have, and something like, I don't mean every week, but I know the professors always send a weekly email. So maybe one time between now and the end of the year, kind of give parents a feel for what the champions are sitting through. Is that possible?
I don't think that's a heavy lift at all. I think that is definitely something that's possible, and we'll bring that up at our Tuesday meeting when we return. And so you may not see it this week.
Maybe after the iPads come through, maybe.
But definitely, I think that's definitely something that can be done.
They'll all look like Genius Bar folks, with an iPad in their hand. It was pretty cool. Thank you.
All right. Are we ready for a roll call vote? Okay. Member Agarwal.
Aye.
Member Jackson.
Aye.
Member Kagu.
Aye.
Member Smith.
Aye.
And Member Travis is aye as well. Next item C, approval of renewal of audit contract between Oxford Preparatory and Christie White Accounting Corporation to prepare federal and state tax returns for fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2022. Local education agencies need to engage an audit firm for the 2021-2022 year no later than April 1st, 2022, per the Ed Code 41020B3. Christie White Accounting Corporation will conduct an annual audit and prepare the federal and state tax returns for the fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2022, for the amount not to exceed $13,725. The selected audit firm is familiar with the audit requirements of the California K through 12 LEA, and its accountants familiar with the GASB, FAASB pronouncement and statutory funds mechanisms. It is recommended that the Board of Directors approve action item C. May I please have a motion?
I'll move to approve item C.
Second.
Wonderful. Roll call vote. Member Agarwal.
Aye.
Member Jackson.
Aye.
Member Kagu.
Aye.
Member Smith.
Aye.
And Member Travis. Is aye as well. Moving on to action item D, approve utilizing teleconferencing for the March 17th, 2022 OPA Board of Directors meeting. Per Government Code Section 54953E, local agencies can continue to meet via teleconferencing during the state of the emergency proclaimed by the governor, in which 1, the state and local health officials have imposed or recommended measures to promote social distancing, and 2, the legislative body has determined or is meaning to determine by a majority vote that meeting in person would prevent imminent risk to the health or safety of the attendees. Because of the ongoing health risk created by the COVID-19 pandemic, it is recommended that the Board of Directors continue to hold board meetings via teleconference for the next 30 days, which includes March 17th, 2022 OPA Board of Directors meeting. There are no financial impact. I believe we have an amendment to this motion.
Yes, we were going to amend it to add our March 8th board meeting as well, being teleconferenced.
Okay, wonderful. With that, can I go ahead and get a motion on the revised language to add the additional date in March?
So moved.
Second?
Jackson, second.
Wonderful. Roll call vote. Member Agarwal?
Aye.
Member Jackson?
Aye.
Member Kagu?
Aye.
Member Smith?
Aye.
And Member Travis? Aye. Next item, committee discussion, strategic planning committee.
All right, so Member Kagu and I were just going to report out a little bit, kind of a recap of what we reported out at the last meeting, but just kind of talking about some of the things that we have going on right now. Member Kagu, did you want to start us off?
No, go ahead. I can chime in, Dr. Karan, if you want.
All right. I just wanted to kind of go through that. We are excited to kind of start looking at figuring out what a group of peer schools could be for us to look at when we're looking at programs, our own achievement, how we're doing. And so our group, we kind of came up with a pretty big list of some of the top charter schools in California, as well as some of the private schools. And we're going through and kind of researching those, figuring out how they compare to us with demographics and parent engagement and student achievement. And then also looking at some of their outstanding programs and how we might be able to bring some of those programs here to OPA. We always want to be looking at ways that we can improve, and there are some great schools out there doing amazing things in different areas that we might be able to glean some ideas off of them that we can kind of bring back to OPA. So our committee we have a kind of a long list of schools, and everybody has been picking a few. This is a perfect time because everybody has virtual tours online because it's kind of open enrollment season. So it's a great time to get information about different schools and different programs. So we're kind of working on that as we look again at ways to kind of continue to improve as we move into the future.
And just to add on to that, one of the things we learned from the presentation from Dr. Kunan was that while we can get a lot of quantitative data from public schools, private schools do not apparently publish stats on academic performance and so on. And therefore, I think we can have comparisons between our peer schools that are public schools or public charter schools. But honestly, I think we'll probably be ahead of most, if not all of them. I mean, we do really well. I mean, Dr. Kanan showed some really good stats about how even compared to county or nationwide, we're pretty much pretty high up in terms of ranking, in terms of academic scores. So the reason why we've expanded our scope is to not focus necessarily only on the quantitative side, but also look for inspiration, right? Look for inspiration on what are the programs are they offering. And Dr. Kanan, it's a fantastic idea that everyone's sort of touting the work that they're doing around because they attract people into the school. And so it's a great opportunity for us to go seek inspiration, right? I mean, we are in a nonprofit organization, and so it's perfectly fine to go check out what our competitors are doing. And so I'm very, very excited about that. This goes to the strengthen the core, right? I mean, to the point about strengthen the core versus expand. There's still a lot of work to be done in strengthen the core. As we discussed last meeting, I know Member Travis has asked for some additional work that I know staff will perhaps come to the strategic planning committee as well if necessary. And then this notion of peer group, right? I think we're going to have, here are the 5 or 6 peer groups we're comparing ourselves to, and that's the type of experience we're aiming to accomplish. So very excited. I think we're going to meet again in about a month. So we'll keep you guys posted. Thank you.
Thank you. That's incredible. Thank you so much for your leadership on that group. Moving right. Any questions from the board? Okay, moving on to next item, community input for non-agendized items. The public may comment on items not listed on the agenda and are within the legal purview of the board of directors. Public comments, including emailed comments, shall be limited to 3 minutes per comment with up to 20 minutes of public comment. Is there any non-agendized items, comment cards?
We had one that came in through email that I will read. It's from Betsy. As we continue to think about the Lcap, I would like to thank the board and staff for taking the time to listen to us stakeholders. We have implemented many new wonderful programs, from coding, which I was very excited about, a wonderful new STEAM classroom and teacher, to something as small as continuing to utilize tech resources even though we are back in the classrooms again. Many of those things were discussed in Lcap meetings, and it's fantastic to see them thriving and having our inputs heard. Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you, Betsy. I appreciate your comment and your leadership. And I believe on the school site council for SOC, correct? Yes, thank you so much. And with that, I think we will move on to our last item. As a reminder, we did ask for one item to be on the next agenda of regarding information about capacity options. So just as a reminder, last item, adjournment, is recommended that the board adjourns the regular meeting for the Oxford Preparatory Academy Board of Directors on February 17th, 2022. May I please have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Jackson, second.
Wonderful. Roll call vote. Member Agarwal.
Aye.
Member Jackson.
Aye.
Member Kagoo.
Aye.
Member Smith.
Aye.
And Member Travis is aye as well. And we are meeting adjourned at 8:40 p.m. Thank you,
Everyone.
everybody.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.